Hello, everybody, and welcome to the return of Arsenal X, the Xbox podcast here on Boss Rush Games, where we throw up the X. Because we're about to throw down. I am one of your hosts, Corey Deering, and alongside me, as always, for this incarnation of Arsenal X, is the wise Wisconsinite, Jesse Douglas.
How's it going, everyone?
Well, Jesse, our plans got delayed by 1 week because I don't know, there was a little football game everybody wanted to watch last weekend. I don't know. So
yeah, for once New England wasn't in it, so people actually wanted to watch it.
Yeah. So
sorry, New England fans.
No, you're not. So we delayed the return of Arsenal X for 1 week, and we are back. We are, if you are unaware of what Arsenal X is, we are an Xbox podcast. What we were doing with the old group that we were doing stuff with, we had a Nintendo show and an Xbox show, and we merged them into what everybody now knows as the Boss Rush podcast. And then by popular demand, we kind of trickled them back out into this new group of Boss Rush Games. Nintendo Power Block has been going for a few months now, and now Arsenal X has returned. So how do you feel about that, Jesse? This was
I'm excited. I'm this is we're getting little tiny bits and pieces here of things, about the next box, and I'm excited for the next generation of the consoles, and especially the Xbox, because that obviously is going to be the first one that I worry about making sure I get. I would like, the plan is to hopefully someday get the PS5 eventually as well, but I'm gonna worry about getting the Xbox first, because that's that's been my favorite for since the original Xbox came out. So
yeah, same. I do want to get the PlayStation 5 as well at some point, but unless it's launching with Horizon or God of War, I'm pretty sure I'm just gonna get the Xbox Series X when it comes out. Yeah, we're about 10 months away from that launch, and this seems like as good a time as any to launch an Xbox, relaunch our Xbox podcast. So
yeah.
Plus, there's a lot to talk about this week anyway. So
yeah, and it's just you guys do Pow Block, and I love I loved talking about Xbox and doing Arsenal X, and so I was kind of bummed that we didn't have that still as well, just as much as the listeners were bummed that we didn't have it. I was right there, but we had to do what we had to do to make sure that we had anything for you guys to listen to and stuff. So yeah, we made some changes, and we're figuring things out a little bit, more, and kind of have better plans. So
yeah, it seems like our rollout of content has been a little bit more, I would say, methodical than the last time we were trying to do a whole bunch of stuff at the same time. And we've got a good team, and we've got a good rollout of content, and I think we've got the three pillars of with the podcasts, and then some of the YouTube stuff we're trying out, and then the live streaming stuff. I think we're still trying to figure out that part of it, but we are still live streaming the podcast, which is something I've been wanting to get back to for a while, and it's been nuts trying to figure out how to do all this with only a couple hours a night at most, trying to get everything kind of squared away and everything. So
it's definitely not an easy thing at all. Like it takes a lot of work of trying to get together and making planning and stuff to make stuff happen, but we've been pretty good about being able to get things done. So, and we should be able to keep it up, I think, as long as we we're communicating and working together to make sure that that we got stuff kind of set up and figured out. So
yeah. So I mean, I love doing Power Block during the week, and then like the weekends when I get to see everybody. That's always fun, and we've had a good slew of guests for Boss Rush, and I plan to do the same for this show. Have a bunch of, because we have a lot of friends that do Xbox stuff. And we've had a few guests that have their own Xbox shows, like Luke, and I know Antonio wants to come on from time to time, and Josh, who we just had on, will probably show up once or twice in the next couple weeks. So I mean, we've got a plan. This initial show is kind of like I don't want to say like a soft relaunch, but it's we do have, you and me specifically, Jesse, and then when Ray's not watching the Oscars, jerk, we do have a lot planned for Arsenal X specifically. With Sunday Night Arsenal is something that we are trying to, we're fleshing out the idea for that, where Sunday night's just going to be kind of streaming games and doing the podcast and having a good time. This show isn't really going to be like Pow Block, where we kind of go off on tangents for 2.5 hours. I think we do kind of, because we are planning to do stuff after the show, we kind of want to keep it kind of to that hour and a half mark at the most. So just because we want to stream games and kind of do our Royale with Cheese and Squad Goals style stuff afterwards, and kind of talk and hang out with the community and open up a lobby to play with the community and stuff. So that's the plan, at least. So
yeah. Well, and the obviously, like we've said a million times in the past, that like if there's a week that's like really, really a big deal, and there's a lot that we feel like we want to talk about, then obviously it might run a little bit longer, but yeah, for the most part, we'd like to kind of keep it short, because it is a Sunday night too, and like you have to work the next tomorrow and stuff. So
yeah. I mean, I kind of am planning on like a 3.5 hour block of time to do a Sunday Night Arsenal type thing.
Okay.
And
yeah,
if, as long as we started on time at if we start at like 9, I mean, I would like to start at 8:30, but I don't think that's gonna happen. Especially with my kid and how she is starting to hit that phase where she doesn't want to go to bed right when we put her down, So,
yeah,
I am planning on like a 3.5 hour time block set aside for this. And, and it's the same for when Ed and I have been talking about doing a Monday night Pow Block stuff. Now that he's off on Monday nights, we're going to move Pow Block to Monday nights live stream. And then I think my plan is to release Boss Rush on Tuesday, like we have been, Arsenal X on Wednesday, and Pow Block on Thursday on podcast feeds and on YouTube and our website and stuff. So that's the plan. And then obviously Friday will be whatever show is scheduled that week for the second show on the Boss Rush podcast feed. So standard def or 1v1.
I was thinking too, we could probably maybe tomorrow mention something, or if you want to Kayla, and see if they're interested in like one of these weekends doing another
After Dark.
Yeah.
Me and her have been talking about it. We're trying to get something scheduled. So yeah, because
that would be fun too.
Yeah. I mean, that's always on the plan too. So I like hanging out with them and doing that. So that is the plan. So just to give everybody an update on what we're kind of thinking with this and the live streams and kind of the archive shows, and because we're kind of thinking like Royale with Cheese and Squad Goals are going to be the streaming segments of this, and then you'll see the archive streams on our YouTube page at some point during the week. But I think our pillar is obvious, like of our kind of quote unquote business model, if you want to call it that right now. Podcasts are clearly the bread and butter. And I kind of feel like the live stream stuff is kind of where we're kind of focusing, and like the YouTube stuff's going to be supplemental. Obviously you're going to see all the video shows there, like our video podcasts and whatever extra stuff we do. But I kind of feel like the live stream shows are going to be kind of where we're kind of aiming to move forward with. So, yeah. So that's kind of what we're planning. So I'm going to head into some of this housekeeping that we have for Arsenal X. Arsenal X is now on Boss Rush Games. It is our Xbox podcast. You can find us live on Mixer and Twitch at Boss Rush Games Live on Sunday nights, along with some fun multiplayer games afterwards. Like I mentioned, Royale with Cheese, which is the Battle Royale stuff that we used to do. And then Squad Goals, obviously our co-op where we kind of play through games and invite the community in to play with us if you guys are willing. So that'll be fun. If you can't join us live, no big deal. You can find our show on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, and other podcast apps to listen to on Wednesdays at 7 a.m. Eastern Time. All of our content is also available on bossrushgames.com, so we would really appreciate if you would go to our website as well to check it out. You can also watch our live shows there at bossrushgames.com/subscribe through our Twitch channel. But you can also join us on Mixer and Twitch, our Twitch channels as well at Boss Rush Games Live. So really excited for that. That's kind of about it for housekeeping. We're going to get into what we've been playing, or as Ed coined it back in the day, what's in our arsenal. So Jesse, I'm going to start with you. What's been in your arsenal? What are you playing?
So, for the most part, I've just still been kind of picking away at Anthem and enjoying that. So I'm, like I said on Boss Rush, I've been enjoying it. I like the changes that they've made to it since launch. The game doesn't feel impossible to do by yourself. I think they may have scaled that back a little bit, or maybe it's just because I've leveled up enough to the point of where I've gotten where it's not like that much of a hassle to try to go against a bunch of enemies by myself. But I feel like I can take more damage and things like that. And I'm not just getting wasted right away by like the turrets and things that they have around. So yeah, I mean, I'm loving playing it, and I'm enjoying it, and looking forward to trying to upgrade everything and try to get better weapons and really find out like what kind of new stuff that I don't have that I'll be able to get, because like Destiny, it has like the weapons that are like the yellow color or whatever that are like super rare. Mm-hmm. They're like the legendary or whatever in Destiny. And so far the only one I've got is the one that I got when I because I had bought the game, or maybe because I pre-ordered it or something like that. So yeah, I've yet to see any of that kind. I haven't even seen the purple levels of the guns yet. So yeah, so there's still a lot for me to uncover and find out about that game. So
yeah, I'm
definitely looking forward.
I actually just re-downloaded it because I know you and I are going to do a pod and play episode on it.
Yeah,
and kind of talk about it and see where the game's at as of this month, or this these couple months, see what the updates are and stuff. So I actually just re-downloaded that as well.
Nice. So. Yeah, I mean that's honestly that's really all I've been playing. But I kind of touched on this again on Boss Rush, but like my thing that I really like about that game, that I honestly think it does better than Destiny, is I do like that they kind of don't make it a hassle to level up your character. Like they like once you unlock blueprints to build things, those blueprints like are still useful. It's not like you get a blueprint for a gun and you can only make it up to a certain level or whatever. But if you want to be able to make a better version of that gun, you have to have a better blueprint or whatever. I like that kind of as you level up, they allow you to keep on fabricating or making that gun or making that perk or making that grenade launcher option or whatever, and make it a level or two higher than what the one that you have is. And so like they make it where you're able to continuously keep leveling everything up at a steady pace as long as you play the game. And and I didn't like that about Destiny, where a lot of times it felt like you'd be getting like all these, like with the way you do it on there, a lot of times you had to get something that was better than what you had, and then you had to infuse that if you wanted to bring something that you really liked up to the level, to keep on leveling stuff up. And sometimes it got really, really difficult because like certain things they wouldn't drop. It felt like they wouldn't drop them like a high enough levels, or like something would be different about it where you couldn't use it to infuse it, and so you'd be like, it would feel sometimes like your time wasn't really being completely
they weren't respecting your time.
Yeah. And I feel like in this game, like your time is a little bit more respected. Now, yeah. I still love Destiny 2, and I would like to go back and play that again eventually as well, because I do like that game. But that's really the only gripe that I've had with Destiny is I just feel like sometimes my time wasn't being respected.
Yeah.
And I feel like Anthem does a better job of respecting the time that you put into the game. Now you still get like lower level guns and stuff that drop.
Yeah,
but a lot of times that's usually just in the little chests that you find spread throughout the world.
Yeah.
So that's whatever.
From when I remember playing of Anthem, like I remember like even after you finished missions, you got probably like, I don't know. I remember one point there was probably like 8 or 9 weapons that you picked up during the course of the mission, and you just kind of went through, and they all kind of seemed like some of them were the same with a little bit of stat differences, but that is one thing that I do think Anthem did a little bit better than Destiny at least at the beginning of the game, where when you're going through Destiny and you pick up a weapon and you don't really know what it is, but it just looks like a skin swap of something else you already got, like it never was like more powerful or anything. Like they fixed that in Destiny. I think pretty much eliminated that, to be honest with you. But yeah, I just remember when playing Anthem, like that was the one thing that I remember it did way better than Destiny was, oh man, it really encouraged you to finish the mission because you'll get better stuff. So.
Yeah, and the other thing too that I'm gonna be completely honest with you, like I get it, I get what Destiny does with all the perks and stuff, but like I feel like Anthem, as far as the like how the perk systems and all that work on their stuff, is much more up my alley, because I get really confused in Destiny as to like what things and perks and what because like they have all these different kinds of stat things and things that you have to add to the gun to add certain other abilities, and like it's confusing because I really haven't I don't know enough about all the newer upgrades and thing changes that they've made more recently to that game. I don't really know what I'm doing when it comes to that stuff, and it gets a little too complex for me.
Yeah.
So like I just like the simplicity of Anthem. It's like a light, Destiny light, basically. It's it has the same ideas, but it's much more of a game that anyone can just kind of pick up and play, and you don't really have to think too much about it. But it has those complexities there for the people who like that. But it's not too complex for anyone to be able to just figure it out.
Yeah.
That's what I kind of like too about Anthem, is just the simplicity, because sometimes I just want to have fun, flying around like Iron Man and shooting things, and not have to worry, as much about, okay, now do I do this on this gun, or should I do this on that? Like, I feel like sometimes in Destiny I'm just spending a lot of time looking at my inventory, trying to figure out what the heck I want to do with things, and I'm not actually playing it, like, other than worrying about all that kind of stuff and trying to figure out what I could do best to try to upgrade my my character's level or whatever.
Yeah.
So like that. And again, there's nothing wrong with any of that stuff. It's just not for me as much as the hardcore Destiny players.
No, I get it. As someone who used to play Destiny a lot, I really feel like I probably spent about 30 to 40% of my time in the menus trying to break the stuff down and infusing and trading stuff in for other things, and which is part of the reason why I haven't gone back in so long, because I'm like, I know once I do that, I'm not going to play anything else, but I'm also intimidated. I played through the Shadowkeep campaign, and after that I stopped playing, and it's not that I don't want to, it's just like Destiny was a game for me, a place in time where, I didn't have a kid, like I had a job where I was working, most of the time, like at 11 or noon, right, instead of 7 like I do now. Like, I could stay up later to play it when my wife went to bed. You know what I mean? Like, it was just one of those games where, like, I had the time, and now, like, we are doing so much, right, with this, and on top of that, I don't have the time to invest in a game like that, because the time I do have after work, I spend with my wife and my kid, or working on something before our show that, after they go to bed, we do a show, or I'm editing something or playing a game. I want to play something else, so I'm not talking about Destiny all the time also. And like, Destiny is hard to shed once you're in it, right? Like, when you're in it, you're in it. And I don't want to get sucked into that hole again. So
until a third one comes out. That's good.
I mean, like, I'll always play through the new content that they offer, right? And I know they've added like, well, quote unquote single player content, like campaign style stuff, since Shadowkeep came out. Like, every couple weeks they add a few more missions to expand on the story and stuff, but I just haven't gone back, and I have a couple friends who want me to come back and play with them, and I gotta be like, look, dude, I would love to, but I also dread, like, it's like feeling of excitement and dread at the same time, because you're like, oh man, they're doing this, and this. Oh, but I gotta do this, and this first, and I gotta go through this with 3 characters, and oh man, it's just, for me, like, there was a point in time where I would have loved to do that, but now I'm just like, I don't know. For my like, when I want to play a first person shooter, and I want it to be simple, which is why I've gone back to Halo a lot recently, because it's the simplest of simple first person shooters, and I love every minute of it.
Yeah, which I would like to go back to, like, play some more Halo, the Master Chief Collection, like, multiplayer stuff again.
Yeah.
That's so fun.
Yeah. So Anthem is we're gonna play Anthem on stream probably in the next week or two. So I do want to get back in it. I want to see what is happening in that game. Not necessarily want to play a whole lot of it, but I do want to see what it's. I do want to see if how it's improved over the last year and a half or a year or whatever. Can you believe that game's almost been out a year?
Yeah.
Jeez, dude.
I know, like you guys had mentioned it on Boss Rush that it feels like it's been out for longer.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I think it's just so much has happened, like with a lot of things. I mean, like even just look at Sea of Thieves. I mean,
right.
Sea of Thieves has been out for what, 2 years?
Yeah.
And that feels like that's been out for like 4 or whatever. But
yeah,
a lot's happened in that. That's another game where, you know, a bunch of things have kind of happened, kind of similar to Destiny, like Destiny 2 from release until now. It's like it just, you know, Sea of Thieves, they've added so many just little kinds of unique things, and like from the cannonballs and you know, ghost ships and the different sea creatures that you can go against, the harpoons, you know, there's all kinds of stuff going on. And now, like when you go on to, you haven't played Sea of Thieves in a little while now.
I actually played it yesterday.
Did you?
Well, I was going to get into it after after you're done talking about Anthem, but
okay, all right.
Well,
yeah.
So before we get into Sea of Thieves, the reason why I turned on Sea of Thieves is because I got a 4K TV this past week. And so the last probably the 2 or 3 days after I got it, I kind of ran through probably about 30-ish games that were Xbox One X enhanced. And man, dude, I love playing in 4K. So to kick things off, the first game I turned on was so before I bought my TV, like Digital Foundry does, you know, a lot of tech style videos, and they did a really interesting one on Xbox One X where you can actually uncap the frame rate on games that support it. And there are very few. There are very, very, very few. And I didn't even know the Xbox One X had this feature. Mm-hmm. But so I popped on Halo 5 because that is one of the games that supports this feature. And I ran it at 120 hertz. And to unlock that feature, though, you have to run the game at 1440p or 1080p, right? So I put it at 1440p. And, dude, I've never seen Halo run so smooth. And, like, I get that I'm playing on a brand new TV with FreeSync and all these extra features on it, as opposed to the TV that I had beforehand, which is like going back to the TV. I put that TV in my office to stream from, right? And switching back and forth between it is like, holy crap, how did I ever even play games on this TV? Because of the input lag is so bad. I never noticed it, but like it's so bad that when I turn on Halo, like I had a headache because of how smooth it was.
Yeah.
That's how smooth and how fast Halo 5 was moving, and that I had a headache from it moving so fast. And like, dude, it looks so good. Like the assault rifle, you could see like the textured plastic on top of the, like, you know how the assault rifle arches at the top, like you could see the textured plastic, and there's writing on the side of the gun that I had no idea was there. Like it just looked really, really good. Right. And I played a mission of that, had a blast. And when's the last time you heard somebody said they had a blast playing a campaign mission in Halo 5? Like, you know, I mean, like, don't get me wrong, Halo 5's campaign, the moment to moment stuff is good. Story. Yeah. I've played through the campaign 3 times, right? I can't tell you what's happening in Halo 5. But shooting stuff still feels really good. And like the slide and the boost stuff like feels really good. So I played that, visually stunning. I played it in 4K and 1440p, and it's an incredible looking game on this TV. After that, I popped in Forza Horizon 4, which looks incredible. The cars look so real in that game when you pop on like the enhanced visual stuff.
Yeah. Because I know I've seen like when you see it running on PC,
Yeah.
like on like a really good PC or whatever, it just like the rain, everything just looks so real in those games.
Yeah.
And yeah, I can't wait until I can experience those kind of games with those graphics. Now, what size is your TV again? I forget.
It's a 55 inch.
Okay.
It's a Samsung 8 series. It's RU 8000 is the model number. It's the 2019 RU 8000 for people who are wanting to know.
Do they make those like in a smaller, like a really small TV with the same kind of options? I wonder. Like my monitor, this monitor that I'm using right now is a pretty decent size for a monitor, but like, because that's the thing is, I honestly all I want is like a monitor size one, because the thing is I feel like a lot of the monitors that are running that kind of stuff are even more expensive than that was.
Well,
and
it
it's
depends.
got less.
It depends if you get there's pretty cheap 1440p 140 hertz monitors out there these days.
Okay.
There's let's see, I'm looking on Amazon right now. Like the Dell 27 inch ones, 1440p and 144 hertz are $250, which I mean, I don't know if like I don't know how much monitors usually cost, and I know there's probably better ones out there, but just as a cursory glance at Amazon, that's how much it costs. So
yeah,
but I know that the 6 series has a 40 inch size one, but I don't know if they go much smaller than that. I know the 8 series doesn't go any lower than 45 inches.
Otherwise, what I could do is I can just look for I don't know, see if they have small. I just haven't done a whole lot of looking, but yeah, because my problem is though is I want it to be able to do 4K, and a high, at least 120 hertz or whatever. And I feel like a lot of the times, it's either you're getting 1440 at 1440 at 144 or greater hertz, or you're getting 4K and it's only reaching like 60, or like there, I don't know, it's just been really hard to find something that's affordable, because you can get the 4K free sync or whatever and all those things on it monitor, but they usually run like around 2000, or like they're closer to, like, for whatever reason they're just much more expensive, and it just so part of it doesn't make sense to me, because it's like, how is it that I can get a big massive TV with all those things basically on it for half that price? It just doesn't make sense sometimes, unless there's just something about the PC ones or the monitors that I don't know anything about that's making it so much better, or something that it's worth that much. I don't know. I think it's just a matter of looking and maybe go to like Best Buy or something, or like somewhere like that, and try to look around a little bit.
Yeah.
I'm not planning on getting anything anytime soon, so I've got a lot of time to do some research and development.
Yeah. I mean, I researched this TV for like almost 8 months, and then we moved, and there's a lot of factors of why I didn't get a TV right away either. Like, we were trying to save some money and see what we were trying to do, and then I don't know, it went cheap, right? Like it was this TV was like $900, and then like in January it dropped to $650, and I was like, well, after the Super Bowl it'll probably go back up, which it did. It did go back up to, I think it went up to 800, back up to 800. It was, so not quite like what it was, but I'm like, this isn't going to get any cheaper. And we had a $150 gift card to Best Buy.
Mm-hmm.
And, I had been putting money back for a while. So, like, we pulled the trigger, and it's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
I did pop in Forza. It looks great. But after that, like, I was trying to run through the Microsoft games first, because I know they're going to be the ones that take full advantage of Xbox One X. Nothing against any of the other games, but
yeah,
first party always uses the hardware the best. So I played a little bit of Crackdown 3, which the way that art style actually goes a long way at 4K.
Yeah, I wanna go back to that game eventually too, because I really did have fun playing that game, and just like, it's just a fun, just
we should
don't have to worry about
it
it
on a stream after the show one night.
Yeah, that would be a good co-op game.
Yeah, so I popped that in a little bit. Looks great. I don't know. I didn't really play a lot of it, so. But then I popped in Sea of Thieves and played for about an hour. Dude, that game looks incredible in 4K. And like, they added all this, like, even since we played last with like Zombie and Battlebug and stuff, like,
yeah,
they added so much to that game since then. Like there was like this red ship in the sky that I think you could go to, and it probably takes you to some secret. I jumped in a little ship by myself and just kind of sailed around, and the water looks incredible. Like, the character models look incredible. Like, that game is just so charming and so fun, and
yeah.
That would be a game on a list of games, if we weren't podcasting and doing stuff, that I would be playing right alongside Destiny. Like, for a while. So,
yeah, because the one thing that I noticed about it that I found, was something that people griped about a lot in the beginning, was now, like, if you spend the time to walk around any of those little islands that are just kind of spread throughout the water, there usually is some kind of treasure on that island.
Yeah,
it's just a matter of finding it.
Yeah,
and that was something, is like, a lot of times people felt like you could go to these big sophisticated islands and run around them, and you wouldn't find a thing worth wasting your time going to them for. And so now they've kind of fixed that, and they kind of hid either the messages in bottles, or treasure chests, or you can just find like the golden skulls or whatever, or the skulls with rubies in them or whatever, just laying around on islands now. So, like, there's actually an incentive that, if you feel like stopping at a bigger island that's on the way between where you're going, that you can always stop and just check it out and see if you find anything now. So that was nice.
Yeah. I ran through a bunch of other games. The only I like all the Rise and Shadow of the Tomb Raider, which I'm actually playing through Rise of the Tomb Raider right now, because I never finished it. And I just started a new game, and it's dude, I love the Tomb Raider games. I love that game so much. Like, I even Shadow, man, I know it got kind of mixed reviews, but I love that game, and they both look stellar. They're some of the best looking games, especially like the environments. Like, you go through and you see, when you turn on enriched visuals, like, the lighting in that game is incredible. The way, like, Lara walks through the snow, and it makes footprints, and kind of you can see the snow falling back into the footprints when you kind of skim the surface. Like, they just do a whole bunch of little things in that game that really make it incredible. I'm probably, like, I want to say, like, 5 or 6 hours in. I'm in the Soviet section. There's the point where you kind of get your first kind of side mission.
Okay.
Where you have to take out these transistors, and you kind of have to destroy them for someone. Then you gain trust of a tribe, which makes the next area you go into easier, because you only have to battle the Soviet or the people who are trying to take over the Soviet base, instead of the the tribe people too, I think. So so that's that game. Those games are incredible. So I've been playing a lot of that. But the one big thing this week that I did was I 1K'd Hellblade. That was a game I played about 3 or 4 hours of twice, and I just stopped playing for some reason to just. I always stopped at the point where you're kind of crossing the bridge and like you see Hella crawl across the bridge and you fall off onto the beach.
Yeah,
and that's always where I stopped. Like both times I started playing that's where I stopped. And I got all the lore stones, and what a incredible game. And my only complaint with that game is the combat. Like, I mean, it's fine, but it kind of feels like it's shoehorned into this really story driven experience that, like, like the puzzles when you're doing the Raven part, like the puzzles that you have to solve are so fun and so crazy, and like not that like the combat is bad or anything, but it's just kind of like it kind of feels like, okay, you just went through this whole cool crazy environment solving these puzzles, and you open a door and you're just in this round room and you're like, okay, this is an arena and we're gonna do some battles. And like the way they incorporate the psychosis stuff, like the voices you hear in battle is really cool. Like you'll hear like voices all around you, like, oh, behind you, watch out. And like sometimes someone's behind you and sometimes they're not. And that like it kind of messes with you that way. Or like when you kind of fall, they're like, one side is like, get up, you can do it, and the other side's like, she's dying, she's not gonna get up. Like, it's kind of like it's crazy. Like, it's cool, but the combat itself is like relatively simple, and like I could have done without it. But everything else about that game was. I'm so excited for Senua's Saga.
Yeah, me too.
It's I can't wait. Like, I just rewatched that trailer again because the trailer is online in 4K. And oh man.
See, and like that game honestly to me is gonna be, I think if they do it right, it's gonna be a really good game to kind of show off some of the what's it called, the light stuff that
like the ray tracing stuff?
Yeah, ray tracing. Yeah, because like, see, like one of the things that I'm, believe it or not, like I'm really looking forward to ray tracing being in the in kind of like in the mainstream, and people really finally pushing it and really testing things out with it. Because like I imagine like a Tomb Raider game in the next generation where you're walking through a cave with nothing but a torch to light your way to find your way, and you can see like the flickering of the light on the sides of the caves, and like just really like I feel like ray tracing, as simple of a idea as it seems, will do a good job of really helping put you into the situation and immerse you like in ways like that. I think ray tracing will be probably the most useful in more of like horror or adventure type games like a Tomb Raider.
Yeah,
I think that's probably where we will get the best experiences as far as immersion.
Yeah,
but like that's the thing though. It's still like we still don't really. It's still a very early thing that's being used as far as how much it gets used in games. So with it being on consoles, I think that's a really good opportunity for that stuff to be used more and people to mess around with it more and really find its limits and figure out like what kind of cool things they can do with that technology. And and make things maybe like I imagine like you could use it in some ways to make like hints and things to solve puzzles, something like you could have it where the light's reflecting off something and then it's shining like an object on a wall somewhere, and you've got to find where the reflection is going to figure out what symbol or something you need to know to turn, on a big stone or something to open a door, or, like they can come up with like just really cool ideas like that just by using the simple reflecting light stuff in the world,
Yeah.
I'm just kind of curious. I really hope that they do like try to use that to its full, potential.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Yeah, I think the ray tracing stuff and I think whatever how powerful the Xbox One or the Xbox Series X is going to be. Like, I think Hellblade is going to be one of those games that takes a lot of advantage of that technology early on, just because like you can actually see how it makes use of the current gen technology and how amazing that game looks. And I know like a lot of the environments are kind of empty and it's just you with an environment, right? But it does a lot of interesting things using the technology in that way. And that's why, this $30, indie game, at least at the time, right? Like this $30 indie game looks AAA and the technology behind it looks amazing because, they used what they had to create a game that took advantage of what they needed, and that worked, and it shows, and the facial capture, the blending of the real-time video mixed with the real-time video mixed with the gameplay and just some of the different, like the trials, the shard trials were really cool. Like they were really well done, especially the blindness one was really cool.
That one, man, that one was...
Yeah, Hellblade, like if you haven't played Hellblade, it's on Game Pass. You should definitely play it. It's only, like if you're not trying to find all the lore stones and do 100% of it, it's only about a 6 to 7 hour experience, so you can probably do it in 2 or 3 nights.
Yeah.
Took me a little bit longer just because, other things, but yeah, it's on Game Pass. It's cool. I highly recommend it, and that was kind of the big thing I played this week, or this past week. So I'm working on Rise of the Tomb Raider. I'm also working on a couple things on Switch, but that's not the show for this. So after we before we get into the news section of the show, Jesse and I kind of talked outside the show, and we were talking about we want to do something that involves Game Pass. We think Game Pass is important. We think it's going to be a big part of the show and just the way we talk about games, because Game Pass is so valuable to us as gamers. So what we're going to do every week, we're going to randomly pick a game off of Game Pass, and we're going to download it and we're going to play it. What we don't want to do is, if it's a game we're going to play anyway, like maybe not do that, but like pick something we've never heard of, something that looks interesting just by the description, that kind of thing. And that's kind of what we're going to do. We don't have one this week, but that's what we're going to do next week. Next week, we're going to pick a game off of Game Pass, play it, maybe stream it a little bit, talk about it, and kind of give it a 30-second review at the end of how, like, discussing the game. So, next week we'll talk about that. We got to come up with a segment name for that, but Game Pass something. So, yeah, I think that'll be really fun. There's a couple shows that I listen to that do that with PlayStation Network downloadable games. They kind of look at the PlayStation blog and look at the drop, and they pick games from the drop that sound stupid or interesting but probably aren't very good, and then they play it, and then they talk about it the next week, and then whatever. So we're going to do that with Game Pass. There's a lot of great games on Game Pass. I think there's some games on there that probably deserve some sort of recognition, and maybe that's what we're going to do. So So we'll kind of squeeze that in after, what we've really been playing in the news section. So, but let's get into some of this news. There's actually a lot happening this week, Jesse, that we get to talk about. A lot of exciting things, a lot of sad things for Gears fans, like this first news story. It comes from Game Informer. Rod Ferguson, Gears Viking himself, is leaving the Coalition to oversee the Diablo franchise over at Blizzard. Gears of War series producer Rod Ferguson has announced that he is leaving the Coalition to oversee Diablo at Blizzard next month. Gears 5 was released last year, and Blizzard is working on Diablo 4 with no release date announced, so the time is certainly right for Ferguson to make the transition. Ferguson was part of the Gears franchise since it began at Epic Games in 2006, and continued his leadership with Gears when Microsoft bought the IP in 2014 and started the Coalition in Vancouver, Canada, formerly called Black Tusk, and other iterations, to handle the franchise. His tweet: "Starting in March, I will join Blizzard to oversee the Diablo franchise. Leaving is bittersweet, as I love our Gears family, the fans, and everyone at the Coalition and Xbox. Thank you. It has been an honor and a privilege to work with you all." So, sad day. I'm really sad because I really liked this direction he was taking Gears with it. 4 started this transition, and then in 5 was great, except for the co-op connection. But everything else about 5 was great. So,
well, my thing is I wonder if like he felt like it's kind of almost like what we're seeing Nintendo doing, where they're kind of like out with the old and in with the new kind of thing, and kind of trying to like move into like a newer generation of having some of these people that have maybe been there a little while but haven't been there nearly as long, kind of letting them take over. And like for me, like it was a bummer because like you worry then about like what the story is going to be like, but at the same time like I also see an opportunity for them maybe to fix some of those things about the game that we still feel like feels ancient and out of date. Like I don't know if that would happen, but I mean, I feel like there's a better chance now if someone else is heading stuff. But
I like you said, I feel like there's the changing of the guard sometimes is a little bit scary, but also sometimes it turns out better for a franchise, and like you said, or like you and I have discussed on other shows, on other iterations of shows, on other, even just in chat, like I still think the Division is top tier cover based shooting mechanics, right? The cover mechanics feel great, the shooting feels great, and just the way like the vaulting versus their version of the roadie run versus just movement in general feels so much better in the Division. And like I know Gears is supposed to feel like a specific thing, right? And they've gotten better at making the characters feel lighter and more agile, and the shooting's gotten better, and the cover mechanics and stuff have gotten a little like they've gotten cleaner in that Gears style. But I would really like someone to come up and say, look, Gears needs to change. Like, it's still going to be a cover-based shooter, but we need to look at games like The Division. We need to look at games that do cover-based shooting differently, and see what we can pull from that, and see if we can apply that to the Gears system. Like that. Like, I mean, there's going to be mainstays like the roadie run's got to stay, right? Like that's just part of Gears, right? The active reload stuff is going to stay. The execution stuff, keep all that, right? Like that's not what I'm talking about. I want a lighter, cleaner feeling movement system, and I still think the Division is the best at that.
I agree.
It's as scary as it is, and I would have really liked to see Rod's story, like to end out the trilogy. But maybe they have like that that arc already set, right? Maybe they kind of wrote this trilogy back to back to back, and like, okay, here's what we want to see happen overall. Maybe some things in between can change. Maybe like, story beats will change here and there just because, different new writers come in, new staff comes in, they have ideas, want to change it, whatever. But the overarching story is probably already set, and the end of Kate's story is probably coming, not to spoil anything, but I'm sure something is going to happen with Kate, right? So, and maybe if you get new blood in there, the story will finish how Rod wanted it to, but getting some new mechanics in there, fleshing out that open world style stuff might be something you can see in the near future, and then maybe Gears will see a better change in the future. So
because I would like to imagine that moving with the more powerful, the more power and stuff, because at the point that we would get another one, the new consoles would be out, and I would hope that they would, and who knows, like maybe even just something as easy as it running at a higher frame rate would maybe fix some things, but as far as the movement and making it feel better, but I think they just, like, honestly, like you said, that's really the only thing that I feel like needs to be changed quite a bit more, is the movement stuff, because the shooting and all that stuff is it's great. It works really well. It's fun. The weapons, they've added some new weapons in the most recent game, and I love all their cool, unique weapons and cool things that they do. Like it just, it's just really that movement stuff. And I almost wonder too if like maybe like if he didn't kind of back off on the story writing and let some of the other guys kind of do stuff, and him just kind of take a back seat and still oversee everything.
Yeah. Well, I also know that
give his opinion.
I also know he was way more hands-on with Gears Tactics than he was with Gears 5 also. So maybe he's, as a producer, like he trusted his team while he went over and worked on Gears Tactics, which, it's going to be coming out soon. I'm sure they're just doing kind of bug fixes and everything, but hopefully Gears 6 will be at least just as good as Gears 5, but I would like to see those gameplay changes. Oh boy. All right, speaking of gameplay changes, cryptic tweet from Phil Spencer went out at the end of January. We're talking about this now because obviously we weren't doing this show at the end of January. So this is from Game Rant and also Phil Spencer's Twitter account. The tweet reads, great update today with at D Gallagher LA and Matt Booty and the team over at The Initiative. Incredibly talented studio, challenging themselves to do new things and old things in new ways. Now, a lot of people have been throwing around rebooting Perfect Dark, which is something that we've also been talking about on the show, a couple times back when we were doing it. And look, they've got people from Sony Santa Monica, third-person action game. A lot of the team is made up of ex-Crystal Dynamics heads, Tomb Raider, right? And then you get some people from IDOS Montreal. You get people in there from Sledgehammer, which they were part of a Call of Duty studio, but a lot of those people came from Visceral, which was Dead Space, and so like another third-person action game. This seems like they're going to make a third-person action game out of Perfect Dark, is what a lot of people are pointing to. So which would be pretty exciting. I enjoyed that first one quite a bit on Nintendo 64. I bought Perfect Dark Zero with my Xbox 360. That's really all I'm going to say about that. Although I'm not going to lie to you, I don't think it's as bad as people say it is. It's just you saw Halo 2 and Halo 3 take first person shooters go one way, and this is if GoldenEye and Perfect Dark and Time Splitters became the norm of first person shooters, right? That's the way that Perfect Dark Zero went, and not a bad game. It's just not a good game. So by the way, Xbox One X enhanced through Rare Replay. By the way, so you can get your Perfect Dark HDR in there if you really want it. But no, what do you think of this tweet? What do you think's happening over at the initiative?
Yeah, I mean, the thing is we could also be completely it could have nothing to do whatsoever with a Perfect Dark or whatever,
which is fine.
Which is the beauty of the unknown. Like that's the thing is if it does happen, you kind of might be upset that you figured it out so soon, and it's definitely a part of the future that I'm looking forward to finding something out about. But like if it was Perfect Dark stuff, me and you were kind of talking about this the other day in chat, and like I definitely would like to see them kind of like do something very aggressive and unique with it. And when I was talking with you, I had mentioned that I'd like to see like almost a mix between like a Watch Dogs and like a Splinter Cell or like I was even saying that like one of the things that I was thinking of is like making the worlds very vertical and kind of like having almost like elements of Siege where you can like kind of break through or break into areas from different spots on buildings to really tackle a mission kind of the way you want. And then like once you get inside the building, it could be similar to like the new Hitman games where you could like like very similar as well to, like you said, the Metal Gear Solid games where you could kind of pick and choose what guys you want to like knock out or whatever, how you want to do things, but make it a little bit more of an open world type thing. Like just kind of make it, because the thing that people have complained about in the past with the Xbox exclusives as well is like a lot of people always say, oh, all they have is like shooter games and that's it for their their main exclusives or whatever. And so like I just really would hate to see it be just another first or third person shooter, because they've already got Gears and they've already got Halo for first person. And so like I could see where people would be in this case would be kind of let down about this idea of it just being something to do with Perfect Dark. But at the same time, like like I said to you, like what if they just decided like like we know people really liked Splinter Cell, and people have been wanting that to come back, but we don't want to have to pay or depend on Ubisoft to have to do that stuff for us anymore. What if we just take the IP that we already own at this point and be able to do the best version of those type of games, to date, and make it just, based around on the Perfect Dark franchise. Like that was another idea that I kind of was rolling around in my head, because there's been a big cry for those games to come back. People really love those Splinter Cell games.
Yeah.
And I think this would be a way for them to really be able to do, like, just go to next level with that kind of gameplay and stuff, and really do a fun new style of those games.
Yeah.
Just with their own IP that they own, so they don't have to rely on someone else.
Yeah. I mean, Microsoft has so many dormant IPs right now that they could do interesting stuff with. Like, yeah. I mean, unless you're like our age, how many people resonate with Perfect Dark, like the N64 game, right? Like, I think a lot of people probably played it, the multiplayer stuff, and remember it fondly, but like,
yeah,
that's what people remember about Perfect Dark and GoldenEye, right? It's the multiplayer, how fun the multiplayer was.
Yeah.
They don't really remember like, cyber, kind of like the cyberpunk super spy 007 style character, right? And I think this is the perfect franchise to reboot in a separate genre. You have your multiplayer games, you have Sea of Thieves, you have Halo, you have Gears, you have your third party ones with Call of Duty and Siege and whatever else you want to throw in there, right? Like, you have your multiplayer stable. You don't need this to have multiplayer, right? Like, look at what Sony does. Their first parties make fantastic single player games because they don't have to rely on them to provide multiplayer support. Sony has Call of Duty, Sony has Destiny, Sony has Siege, and all those other games that they rely on for the, because they get 30% of everything that sells plus 30% of the microtransactions. They don't need that, right? They don't need that in their arsenal to provide for them. And Microsoft has gone a little bit different route, right? But they still have all that too, right? They still have Call of Duty, Destiny, Rainbow Six, Ghost Recon, all that stuff. And then they do have Halo and Gears, which also provide them with multiplayer stability. And you can do some interesting stuff with first party single player narratives, right? Like Playground probably working on Fable, right? That's the worst kept secret in the industry. There's one really awesome single player game. Perfect Dark is the perfect game to do that with also. Third person, action, stealthy, maybe something Watch Dogs-ish, Metal Gear-ish, Splinter Cell-ish. I don't really care if it's open world or not, but it probably will be, right? Because that's the way single-player games seem to be going. But I think they can make Joanna Dark their Aloy, right? A really cool female character that leads a cool single-player campaign style thing in a cyberpunkish open world that, you can go through the whole game without killing somebody, right? Like Watch Dogs. You can do non-lethal attacks. You can use stealth. You can use drones. You can use old school style James Bond gadgets to get through places, right? I think it'd be really awesome.
Yeah.
To see something like that and throw in you could almost do something like Metal Gear where like the story is so campy yet takes itself so seriously, but then you throw in dumb stuff like in Metal Gear 5, you could roll in your helicopter blaring like 80s songs into the mission, right? And like that's just hilarious. You find these cassette tapes that you blare in, it's like hype music to go in and complete your mission, but yet like the story takes itself so seriously,
Yeah.
I think that I think they could, if you get the right team in there and the right, kind of writers and stuff, you could do something similar to that.
Yeah. Well, and the thing to remember, and I know not a lot of people really know this. I really honestly only know the little bit of knowledge about it that I do because I just kind of did some personal research on it. But so when someone talks about how many teraflops a computer has, those teraflops are like the more powerful the more amount of teraflops that it has, the more amount of mathematical equations it can make per second, and what kind of things that makes better and improves upon is how many things are going on in the game simultaneously, with its own personalities. And so, so in other words, that's what pushes the AI to its limits. And so, like with the having the vast amount of teraflops, like I could see that being a really good thing for a game like this, where you've got you can do the quirky kind of funny personality stuff like they do in Metal Gear Solid, where like when you throw something and a guy will see it and he'll react to it in a certain way. They can they can really go elaborate with things like that in the AI, and really make have like all different kinds of ways that enemies could react. Like if you throw let's say you throw the laptop gun somewhere, and and they just kind of look at it and like react to it, and then next thing you know, it starts going off, and they're like trying to run away or whatever, and like you could have like personality and things. Mm-hmm. And I feel like that type of game, like your Metal Gear Solids or your the Hitman series, and and the Horizon Zero Dawn, I mean, that you're more dealing with like robotic animals.
Yeah,
but,
I mean,
like, when you have really humans,
I didn't really mean
no,
it's
I know.
Gonna play like that. I just meant like
No, but I'm just saying, like the enemies, if
mm-hmm.
when it's dealing with humans, you can put much more personality into the the missions and the things that are going on, with the power increase to the next console generation. So like it's a lot of things like that you've got to take into consideration when thinking about like what kind of ways they could go with that IP, and make it like Giant Bomb. Giant Bomb kind of talked about this a little bit, but they they talked about how you gotta make a game that we didn't know we wanted.
Yeah.
And I do honestly think that could be they could definitely make a game with that IP that we didn't know we wanted.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
definitely. I hope they tease a little bit of it. I know they're still hiring staff. I know that this game's probably going to be at least 2 or 3 years at least out. But still excited.
Which is fine. Take all the time you need. Really use the like that's another thing. Like you have Ubisoft do a Splinter Cell. Like, are they going to really be able to really push that console and really use it to its full potential to be able to make something?
Yeah.
Like that's the thing, is them being owned by Microsoft and being close and and personal with the console, and really having people around that really know every intricate detail about that console and how it's built, helping them along. Like they're gonna be able to make it look as amazing as possible. That's something that a third party just isn't gonna have the know-how to do. So
so we'll see, but we'll discuss it more when they have something to show, because that's mm-hmm. kind of exciting to see them maybe mm-hmm. take a crack at that. All right, our next story. Probably not a lot to say on this one, but Microsoft says Nintendo and Sony are no longer their main rivals. Phil Spencer, Microsoft's head of gaming, said he now considers Amazon and Google as his top rivals because of their cloud computing infrastructure. Cloud gaming tackles some common frustrations experienced by players, but introduces some issues of its own. But Mr. Spencer says his, quote, traditional rivals, Nintendo and Sony, we're out of step with the future of gaming. When you talk about Nintendo and Sony, we have a ton of respect for them, but we see Amazon and Google as our main competitors going forward, he told Protocol, a new technology news website. That's not to disrespect Nintendo and Sony, but the traditional gaming companies are somewhat out of position. Google entered the home gaming market in 2019 with its Stadia streaming service. The company's vast cloud computing business means that it has the necessary infrastructure in place, but critics say the lineup of games on Stadia currently is sparse. While Amazon and Apple offer games on their app stores, Apple offers a monthly subscription. They do not currently offer a cloud gaming service. However, Amazon also operates an enormous cloud computing business and is rumored to be developing a game service as well. So there's more into this that explains what cloud gaming is and what Sony and Nintendo are offering. But obviously, Microsoft is developing Project xCloud to go along with the next generation, and it's also out in beta, which Jesse, I know you're using a little bit, and it's really interesting to see the way these different companies are tackling cloud gaming. Sony's offering PlayStation Now, which is actually becoming more in line with what Game Pass is offering, where you can download the games, and they offer their first party titles, but they kind of cycle them out. So it's not exactly one-to-one with Game Pass, but it is becoming more in line with that. And obviously Stadia is what it is, and Microsoft seems to be at least ahead of the competition in this space in terms of what they're offering, and I think it's interesting that they're kind of viewing Amazon and Google. I think it's just another step into maybe we change the way we think of games. I mean, we've been thinking about games since Atari. Since the Atari, you just put your game in the box and it works, or you blew on it a little bit and it worked, and then NES and on up, and PlayStation kind of changed the way we thought about games with multiple discs and stuff like that, and then Xbox changed the game with Xbox Live, and then moving into digital games, and now with the cloud gaming stuff, this is kind of I know it kind of sounds like he's putting shade at Sony and Nintendo, but it is true. I think it is about the streaming future, and Microsoft obviously is offering choices to its consumers with Game Pass and downloading games or physical copies, or eventually streaming them. But I mean, there's no denying that cloud gaming is a future that is coming. So
yeah, and and the only thing I really had to say about it is the thing is I feel like this paying more attention to PC and not just staying on just worrying about Xbox when it comes to their games, and kind of trying to get things more on the PC as well, and things like that. I feel like that's maybe given all the things that Microsoft owns kind of a chance to all really communicate with each other and inform, because Microsoft is on the forefront of technology in a lot of ways. They're constantly running ads about their technology with farming and stuff that they've done to try to get better crops and things like that by all these crazy technology things that they're putting on farms that can read the soil levels and all these things, and you've got the NFL is using their tablet things for writing plays and all that stuff, and they've kind of got their their feet in a lot of different, things of the future. And like it makes you think, well, why wouldn't they be trying to, also really dig deep into this future of their gaming business as well that they're in. So,
right.
It's kind of, it is kind of funny how like we've slowly gradually seen like Microsoft just kind of like, it's like kind of just pass by everyone with just kind of doing their own thing. And now all of a sudden it's like, well, they're doing this and they're doing this and they're doing this. And why isn't Sony, or why isn't, Nintendo doing this? And, like it's just kind of funny how they've just kind of secretly just walked past them. And in some ways, yes, not in selling consoles, but
yeah, but Microsoft's,
that doesn't matter.
Their game plan isn't about the boxes anymore, right? Like that's what people are kind of like not seeing, is that Microsoft's plan is not about selling boxes anymore. It's about selling you, services and Xbox Live and Game Pass and Windows and if you're playing on PC, like, look, if you're playing Halo on PC, right? Like, you're either paying Microsoft for Game Pass or you're buying the game off of Steam, which you're still giving Steam takes 30%. So you're still giving Microsoft like $47 for Halo, right? Like, so
yeah,
you're still giving Microsoft money, which is all they, want out of you anyway, right? Or like, I don't care about PC games. I'm buying an Xbox. I'm plugging it in under my TV, right? Like, yeah, I will dabble in some PC games, right? Like Age of Empires 2 Remastered, I will download once I figure out once I get a external drive that I can format to the Windows part of this setup I have here. And then, Gears Tactics I will probably play when it comes out. But for the most part, I will be playing on my Xbox with a controller and playing games that way. So
yeah,
I don't know.
It's just gaming simplified. Like I like the idea of just a game saying, hey, do you want to like have better resolution, or do you want to have better frame rate? And you just picking what you want, and boom, it's done for you. You don't have to go, okay, well, I got to tweak this in this menu, and I got to do this, and I got to make sure.
Right.
Oh, wait a minute. Now it's still running crappy because, okay, what do I need to change here so it's running right? Like, I just don't want to deal with that. And
I don't have time for that. I have so limited time and budgets to upgrade a PC. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I get that people like that experience, and I get that like people want that experience, and that's great, right? Like, we have friends that PC game almost exclusively, right? But like, I want the box, and I'm going to have the box, and I do want the best possible box, but I also don't want to have to download some drivers or figure out how much, like, I just don't want to mess with anything, right? Like, I just don't, so, I think Microsoft is doing it the smart way, and I think, Sony is maybe dabbling in that space too, where like, there's a lot of rumors that Horizon Zero Dawn is coming to PC, right? And that
is awesome.
Yeah, like that would be awesome. Like, I think if Sony takes that approach where, we're gonna put Sony's like, we're gonna put all of our games out on PlayStation 5, and then once we've drained the well of that, or once the game's been out for 3 or 4 years, we'll try to shift it to PC to get a new audience into that game. Or what I really think this is like, Horizon is still a new IP, right? Like, for Sony, like, it's only one game. The sequel is rumored to be coming sooner than later now, right? Like, maybe this is just a marketing thing to say, hey, we're going to put the first game out on PC to re-garner interest and kind of get people's attention on Horizon again. And then we're going to debut Horizon 2 around E3 or Gamescom or whatever, whenever their state of play is, right? Like, I think that's a smart tactic for them. But for Microsoft, like, they don't care if you buy the box, if you're paying for Game Pass, if you buy the games from their store, if you buy it from Steam, you're still giving them money for whatever. And I think they're just, the way they give people choices, and then adding the xCloud stuff on top of it, where, you know, you can stream your library of games or the Game Pass games, or, you know, whatever. I think that's just a really just adding to the choice that they're giving players. So
yeah, and you know, and that, like, I think that's one thing that Sony lacks in doing, is sometimes they don't do the best at like doing things that could easily promote new stuff that's coming out.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like Xbox has done a really good job. Like, what they'll do is, if like there's a game coming out, they'll try to work on seeing if they can't get the backwards compatibility of the old games of that, you know, of that franchise onto their console, you know, so to help promote the new ones that are coming out. And we see that with Nintendo does that occasionally as well, or they'll release
they'll release like
they'll remaster.
They'll re-release, like, you know, to garner interest for, you know, Bayonetta 3, they re-released the first two games on Switch, right? Like, I mean, they ported the Wii U versions of those games onto Switch. A lot of people think they're going to do that with Metroid Prime Trilogy when Metroid Prime 4 finally comes. Like, they are also very good at garnering interest in that as well. So
so that's, you know, like that I think that, you know, like Sony doing that is definitely a step in the right direction. And, you know, and that's the thing, is like, if I've learned anything from Microsoft and like the way Phil Spencer has been running things, the thing is like, you know, like, he doesn't see Nintendo and Sony as a threat. I feel like, because like in his mind, like, he's been trying to push for this place where it doesn't matter. Like, he wants you to be playing on a Sony, on a PS, and he wants you to be playing on a Switch. Like, he wants you to be playing on all those things, not just their box. He wants you to be playing everywhere else, because overall, for gamers and you know, in general, it's just better if we can play in where we want and what we want. You know, so you know, that's why he doesn't see them as a threat, and that's why I don't find like, you know, where I could see people taking that as him throwing shade. I think it's actually was the opposite. It was the fact that he is glad that they're doing what they're doing, and we hopefully can have this generation, you know, moving forward to a place where, you know, no matter what console you're playing, we're happy and we're excited for games in general, you know. So
all right, we're gonna move on to our last news story here, and then talk a little bit about what we're gonna do moving forward. Our last story comes from IGN. The new Call of Duty Modern Warfare Season 2 details have leaked. A slew of new details for Call of Duty Modern Warfare Season 2 have leaked, and the culprit is none other than the official Call of Duty website. Spotted by Eurogamer, the information was quickly removed after being published to Call of Duty's website, but that didn't stop the internet from grabbing every morsel of information, including details on Season 2's Battle Pass. Perhaps the most notable addition of Call of Duty's multiplayer is what appears to be fan favorite map Rust, the tight spiritual successor to Shipment, set in the sand-swept oil rig in Afghanistan. We catch a glimpse of the map below, blah, blah, blah. 2 new guns are coming to the already wide arsenal of weapons, and it looks like the SMG fans will feel most appreciated here. The Graf 5.56 is described as a lightweight, maneuverable, and full of potential, while the Striker 45 is hard-hitting and long-range SMG, something that will make those longer sightlines even more treacherous. Also, there's new operators, including Ghost from Modern Warfare 2, rocking his classic skull mask and a cool new look there too. So, also new blueprints are coming. I don't really understand the rest of this language, but you do because you've been playing Modern Warfare. How does this? How do you feel about all of this for season 2?
It's it's interesting. I kind of have fell off of it recently. I haven't played it in a little while because I've actually been playing Blackout lately, just because I'm just kind of been in the mood to play some battle royale games. So I've been going to that, but I do plan on going back into this game eventually because I really do like the new Modern Warfare, and like I just love the changes they've made to it and stuff. So yeah, once that starts gets closer to the season 2 coming out, I'll probably go back into it quite a bit again. So yeah, I mean, as far as like the map that they're adding, Rust or whatever, it's not exactly one of my favorite maps, but I've kind of been waiting for Ghost to be an operator because I like, in my opinion, that's just kind of a given that it, to be expected that would be a character you could play as. But,
Yeah. I'm kind of surprised he was.
It was just a matter of time.
Yeah. I think. Well, I mean, it makes sense to save, one of the coolest characters in the Modern Warfare subgenre or whatever you want to call it. Like, I feel like Ghost is definitely one of the more memorable characters from. I remember Ghost, and I'm not even a big Call of Duty guy, so Ghost is definitely someone that you would save to get people excited for your game, another season of the game. So. Yeah, I really have nothing to say. I would like to get it, but again, it's that thing of like, well, I really play a lot of it if I buy it, and like I bought Black Ops 4 for Blackout, and which was fun, right? Like I still like Blackout. I just hopefully
that's the thing. I was gonna say maybe if they do eventually have a battle royale game like that would probably be the best time to get it, like for people who maybe don't really care as much for the Call of Duty, the regular Call of Duty multiplayer. But the thing is like, honestly, like that game is worth the money just for the campaign, in my opinion. I really loved their campaign in this game.
I mean, I think if there's a sale maybe this summer and it drops to like $30 because it will at some point. Maybe
even around Christmas.
Yeah, even around like a new season of the multiplayer or whatever. Like I do want to play the campaign. I just I'm trying to save.
Yeah.
So
yep.
But
you can choose wisely.
Yeah. But yeah, that's all the news. Not really on the docket. But what do you think about them announcing a new Call of Duty for this year during their fiscal report?
I mean,
are you surprised?
No, no, but because we didn't talk about this setup. Did we talk about the port thing on the back of the Xbox? Did we talk about that on Boss Rush? I forget.
No, we didn't.
About finding out that now seems to be that we might be looking at another like 360 type thing where you can buy an expansion of the storage and actually put it in the back of it to add to the amount of hard drive you have without losing speed.
Yeah, a lot of people are saying that they like that slot kind of like, and now that it's come out that it might be memory expansion, a lot of people are saying that like it looks like a hard drive that really expensive cameras use, and they look like big long strips like that. So
that you just kind of shove in and like push it into it.
That makes me worried though that like these things need to launch with like a 2 terabyte hard drive at least. And like I know it's gonna be 1 terabyte, and they're gonna expect you to buy memory expansion. That's
I'm still really torn on this because I'm more in the thought that I think it's not gonna come with any less than 2. Like, because like the thing is like we've already seen that the these games with their new with the enhancements and stuff get to be pretty big. There is also the talk about them trying to play around with the idea of having like multiplayer and campaign stuff for games be separate files that you can choose to download if you want to, but you don't have to. I think that kind of goes along with with the Microsoft originally talking about working on ways to figure out how to download games so you can play it before it's all downloaded, where like whether it be each chapter of a game kind of is an individual file in some way, where individually it can play without the rest of the chapters, and you can just play that while you're waiting for the next one to download, kind of thing. Like I could see because what if they did like where you download the first chapter of the game, you play it, and then you don't need that chapter anymore, you can delete it. And you can play the next one, just like you would do with like a TV show. Like when you download a TV show from Netflix, you watch like 1 or 2 episodes. You download them to your phone, but after you're done, you can delete them and watch the next 2 episodes.
Yeah.
There's ways they could do it like that too. That definitely for a single player game would be a very useful way of doing it.
Yeah.
So. Because I think if you paired something like that with the idea of having at least 2 terabytes in the console, I think that would be much more reasonable. So
we'll see. But that's all the news we have. This is where we usually go into questions if we have any, but obviously this is our first episode back. We're not gonna have any. I did put out a thing on social media feeds, but it was probably a little late and people didn't really respond. So maybe next week we'll have some questions for you. But we're gonna kind of talk about what we kind of want Arsenal X to be a little bit. I know we did a little bit at the top of the show, but I know Jesse, you've talked about maybe hosting the show at some point, and I would like it to go that way at some point. Because I do like that. I do like the idea of each one of us hosting one of the major shows on our network, and like each of us will give it its own personality, and its own kind of vibe and stuff. I'm glad we're bringing the show back. I do enjoy talking about Xbox, and I do kind of want to do this show right. I know kind of at the end of the original run, we kind of, you and Ed were doing stuff, and then Ed had, did solo shows, or I did a show with Ed because you were busy. Like we kind of didn't really give the end of the first run of the show its proper due. But I think now that we kind of have a rhythm going, and this show is back, and we have an idea of what we want it to be, it's going to be what we think it should be. So I don't know. What do you expect from the show? What do you want it to be? What do you want to do with it? Like, you know what I mean? Like, how are we going to approach it?
Honestly, I just kind of I feel like it, very similar to the way that you guys do Pow Block, where you just kind of really have good discussions about that console, and for the most part, and just kind of focus just on that console, and why we love it so much. That's kind of what I enjoyed about this, the show from the beginning, is just I love talking about Xbox. Like, it's my main console, and I've had one since, like, I joke, I've had an Xbox or a Microsoft console since the Dreamcast came out.
Yeah.
So, like I've said it a million times, I look at the Dreamcast as the pre-Xbox.
Yeah.
And then the regular Xbox, the original Xbox came out, and and that thing was just filled with wonders and just things that were really changing how you do gaming. A lot of it because of modding. Making consoles interesting, making it like,
the original Xbox was very easy to mod, though.
Yeah.
To be fair.
Well, that's the thing, and it was such like, be it illegal or whatever, however you want to look at it. I mean, it wasn't technically illegal to copy games onto it if you actually own the game, but just the idea that you could literally, by just modding something in it, like, you could just copy a game directly off of the disc onto the hard drive and then not need the disc anymore.
Yeah, like, how many games?
So technically, the Xbox was able to do digital versions of games before all the other consoles.
My friend had an Xbox, and he modded it, and, like, not only did he, every time we went to, like, Blockbuster or something to rent a game, he would just copy it onto the Xbox, but, like, he also had, like, an NES and Super Nintendo and Sega Genesis emulator on there, like, and we would just play all those games too on there. And it was, let me tell you, you have not lived until you play Super Mario 3 with a Duke controller. It's so bad, dude. It's so bad.
Yeah. Oh. Yeah, I was like one of the only people that I played, of my friends and stuff that had an Xbox or played Xbox. I was the only person that ever really didn't mind the Duke, just because my hands are bigger. Yeah. So I, just for the sake of, because I had a lot of friends coming over and stuff to play games, and we didn't want to have to fight over who gets what controller. I did eventually end up trading it and getting the slim ones that they eventually came out with. Mm-hmm. That would, later on go to kind of still be the standard kind of design that they've been improving upon, since then.
Yeah.
But yeah, I didn't mind it. I still, one of these days, I might still get one of those new versions of the Dukes, just because, to have it. But it just, when that Xbox, I mean, like that, like mostly around, like, I have a lot of friends that have kind of been really tech and computer nerds, and like that console was like the holy grail to them, to people who love to futz around with computers and modding and all that stuff. Like that console was like above everything else in their eyes,
Yeah.
So it was a really fun time, and that's just it. Like, with the Xbox, is just, I've had some really, really fun and great memories through Microsoft's Xbox franchise, that it only makes sense that we do a show like this for me. Like, I just love talking about Xbox, and a lot of great stories.
Yeah, and we know a lot of people that love the Xbox, right? Like Ray will be on, I'm sure, and Antonio, I know, has expressed interest in coming on, and Luke, mm-hmm. and from Xbox Expansion Pass, and we've got a lot of people who have showed interest in coming on too. So I appreciate people at least reaching out, and even like even people like Sean Capri, who does the Xbox Drive, and a couple other things. So I want to treat this like Ed and I have talked about Power Block, about how we like it because we love Nintendo, and it's been our show since 2016, right? Like we've been doing that show since then, and we've had guests and we've done stuff, but we kind of like that show when it's just us. Whereas like I kind of view this show as like, I want to build a community around it. I want to build a rotating kind of guest list for it, kind of like bring people in. And, I've talked to Ed about that too with Power Block and having guests on that show too, right? Like I do want to get people on that show at some point, because I think overall guests just help with growth and help you expand and reach new people and get different voices and different ideas on there and whatnot.
It keeps it fresh. Like that's the thing, is it's like people, obviously a lot of our listeners that we love dearly, like like hearing us, but at the same time it's, we've seen with having lots of guests and stuff on things, like they're really seem to be enjoying having these different people come on and kind of keep it fresh and new, and I'm definitely all for that, because it's always great to have other opinions, even if you don't agree with them, but that's what makes this interesting, and we can have good conversations that way.
And plus we've met a lot of people through us streaming on Mixer and stuff too, right? Where like I know Ray streams on Twitch, but like you and me stream on Mixer, and meeting a ton of people that way, and having people I know a lot of people thought when Zombie was on Boss Rush, like they loved that episode, or
it was a great episode.
I think I just think we could make this show a little bit more unique in doing that, making it different from Power Block that way, and see what happens. I'm excited for this. I think this run is going to be better than the first run, just because we are in such a different place. Well, I can't speak for you. I know I am, but it's going to be something else, especially with new consoles coming and a bunch of different shows coming up, and doing cool stuff with Inside Xbox, and maybe we can do with Power Block we do the direct recap show. Maybe we can do like inside Xbox or something like that,
or outside inside Xbox. Because we're not really
it's fair,
we're not really in it technically. We're looking from the outside.
That's fair. So I don't really have anything else to say. I thought this was a pretty good a relaunch of the show. I was checking our Mixer and our Twitch people popping in and out. I appreciate that. I didn't really do a lot of social stuff for this episode, but we will. I just got behind, and my wife and I did a bunch of stuff today, and with Riley and everything. So but Arsenal X has officially returned. 81 in the books. So what's crazy? Did you Boss Rush is going to hit episode 50, Power Block's going to hit 200, and this is going to hit 100 all in the same week if we don't miss a week. So
nice.
Yeah. So that's nice. I don't know how that happened that way, but it happened. So
it's destined.
Yeah. But anyways, I want to thank everybody for watching. Remember, you can catch Arsenal X live on Boss Rush Games Live on Mixer and Twitch every Sunday night, along with some streams and stuff afterwards. You can also find it on your podcast feed on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, anywhere you listen to podcasts on Wednesdays, as well as YouTube and BossRushGames.com. You can follow us on Twitter at Boss_Rush_Games, and check out all of our content on BossRushGames.com. Jesse, where can we find you?
You can find me almost everywhere as Phantom NXS. And again, I kind of mentioned this on Boss Rush. Especially on Xbox, if you're adding me, just shoot me a message. Let me know, hey, I listened to the show. I'm adding you from there, and that gives me a chance to kind of know, who's someone that I would like to give the attention to, and who's just a bot, because there's a lot of spamming bots and things with Xbox and really a lot of things. So I want to give you the attention and things like that, and give you a follow. So it just makes it easier for me, and that kind of goes for all of us as well. So
yeah. You can now find me. MC Fixer said something to me when he was on Boss Rush, kind of making everything kind of match and everything. So I've been working on that. You can find me on all social media platforms at I am CorianHD, and you can find me on Mixer at CorianHD. So follow me there. Again, like Jesse said, if you are adding me on something, send us a message so we know that you're not a bot. And if you're a fan of the show, just let us know. So, but I think that's it. So thank you everybody for joining us on Mixer and Twitch. Thank you guys so much for watching. And if you're listening to us on Wednesday, leave us a nice review and rate us on Apple Podcasts. We really appreciate it. And until next week, we love you. Oh yeah. I forgot. We're gonna throw up the X
one more time.
Because we're exiting out of here. Is that what he used to say?
Yeah, because we're exiting. I think that's what it was.
See you guys next week. Goodbye.
What's the matter? You hurt? Hey, bro.